Hello, today I'm going to be talking about Tam Joseph. Tam Joseph, he was formerly known as Tom Joseph. He's a Dominican-born artist, sculptor, graphic designer, animator, and printmaker. He was born in Dominica in 1947. His exact birthday is actually unknown, and was a part of the Windrush generation that arrived in London in the 50s. He was 8 when he left Dominica. He's quoted as saying, "I'm Windrush, I didn't experience growing up as a black child in England." He later studied a foundation course at the Central School of Fine Art in London, 1967, then went on to study for a Bachelor's Fine Arts Slade, but dropped out a few months into travel. He visited Europe, Turkey, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and India and Africa. Africa in particular had an impact on him, and he stayed to work there for a while. He later achieved a diploma in art and design in typography at the London College of Printing. He got into animation at a very young age, despite having limited resources. At 14, he was making flicker books from receipts at the laundrette, which, as someone who's tried and failed at traditional animation, that's incredibly impressive. I mean, receipts are just so flimsy, like, how could you do that? I have no idea. Anyway, he's produced a variety of quality work in his time. He assisted in the painting and tracing of the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. He's worked for the Africa Journal and illustrated a children's book called Titch the Cat, which I actually had at my primary school library. As well as this, Joseph produces his own original work, as you can see below. Some of his most popular include The Spirit of the Carnival, The Beginning of the End, and Time Span. And I like Time Span because it's a really long cat. Yep. Joseph has described himself being driven by what he sees, and instead of writing things down in a journal or sketching out ideas, he just gets to it immediately before the idea goes away. He also collects things that inspire him, nothing of a certain topic, just anything that he thinks he can use for his work. Joseph works with an extraordinary amount of mediums in his chaotically organised workshop/studio space. He'll mix loads of different brands of acrylics of the same colour, but he says they all have different shades, which, to be fair, is true depending on the make. He also uses PVA glue and gesso to give 3D effects on the lines to his paintings. He also usually does it in charcoal, then he'll cover it in PVA, and then he'll paint over it. But because the PVA leaves a mark, he'll still be able to see what was there before. It's quite a clever way of doing it, really. And I'm mostly focusing on his paintings because that's probably what I'm gonna do in my reflective piece for him. I really like that he shaves the pastels onto the canvas rather than using them directly onto the piece, and he can be seen doing that in this clip here in his studio in London.
It's a sort of a reverse form of the fresco technique where you'd add colour into wet plaster. If you do the opposite, you add colour to dry plaster, it doesn't actually penetrate all the way through, but if it's added to wet plaster, it goes all the way through. You can never really scrape it off. Whereas the other way, if you want to dry plaster, you can scrape it off.
Here are my final thoughts on Tam Joseph. I love his variety and I really respect his process. He has no particular style. He just sort of does whatever comes to mind, and he just gets to it. And I think it takes a lot of discipline to have that kind of no-nonsense approach. On a similar note, he's an example of how you don't need expensive or plentiful art tools to start out an artistic career. Those were scarce for him as a young black boy in London in the 50s. And I think it serves as an important reminder for myself personally, as I've always been plagued with the idea that the tools are what make the artist, which is rational, but they can be reasoned away by people like Joseph. But he has shown that he's brilliant at using whatever materials he can, like plaster, paper mache, linen. He explains in an interview with Catherine Farron that it's essential to have the skill of seeing and interpreting things over and over in one's mind. He turns one thing into another from what he sees, and I think that's a really important facet in the art world. Overall, I think Joseph is a great illustration of ambition, persistence, and skill building. Here are just some sources, just in case you need them. And here is a little sketch page of basically some ideas of what I'm going to do for the reflective piece. I really like the ones where he uses a lot of shadows and highlights, as you can see here. I'm probably going to use, in the painting, it's going to be made probably on a canvas or a piece of paper. Going to make it relatively big, I think. Like he does with the PVA glue to thicken the lines and the gesso. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to use acrylics and pastels the same way he does in that video. And I'm probably going to use him as like a muse, as like a figure, and just paint him as he paints others and things that he sees. I really like the spray painty, charcoaly effect a lot of his paintings have as well. I really like that, it's quite gritty. So, yeah. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed